and we're privileged to have with us Michael Warsaw, the CEO here of EWTN. And we wanted to have Michael on tonight because, as you've probably heard, the network has filed a lawsuit against the Obama administration, kind of loosely stated. But
That's right, right. Yeah, first of all, it's good to be with you. I think this is actually my first time on Life on the Rock.
Welcome.
So thank you very much. It's nice to be with you. An important day, yeah, I think in the history of EWTN, and I think hopefully an important day for the church in the United States. As you know, the Department of Health and Human Services back on January 20th issued rules that would mandate that religious employers have to provide within their health care plans coverage for contraception, sterilization services, and abortion-inducing drugs. And that's obviously simply something that EWTN can't accept. So in response to that, this morning we filed a lawsuit here in Federal District Court in Birmingham, asking the court system to intervene and to review this mandate from the administration and to hopefully find that it is unconstitutional, that it's an unconstitutional intrusion upon our right of free speech and our right of religious freedom. The final rules that were promulgated by Secretary Sebelius and the Department of Health and Human Services on these issues back in January really left EWTN with two choices in this. You know, we were either forced to incorporate these procedures into our health care plan for our employees, which amounts to us violating our conscience. Or we're forced to cease to provide health care insurance for our employees and their families. And from a social justice standpoint, that's not something that's acceptable either. And even if we did choose to do that, under the terms of this mandate, the Department of Health and Human Services would come back and fine EWTN in the first year $600,000 for not providing that type of health care to our employees. And those fines would continue in the years ahead. So this is really an untenable position for a faith-based organization. Obviously, you know, Mother Angelica founded EWTN 30 years ago to be a faithful Catholic witness and a faithful Catholic voice. We can't be forced into a situation where, on the one hand, through our television and radio and internet services, we're preaching and teaching what the church says, but then internally for our employees and their families, we're being forced to do things that are against our teachings, our beliefs, and you know, these are non-negotiables for us. And so really the only recourse we felt we had was to take this matter to the courts and to just say, you know, somebody has to stand up. Enough is enough, and it's time for EWTN to take this action and hopefully to stop this intrusion into our activities and the activities of so many other faith-based organizations around the country.
And so one issue is the freedom of speech, that you know, the employers would be asked to inform the employees about these availability of these services.
Right.
And in our case, it's directly contrary to what we're saying the rest of the week, so to speak, and teaching on this network. The government would be forcing us to turn around and tell our employees something different.
Exactly.
And then just the religious liberty issue too of being able to pay for these services.
Right.
And you know, I heard an interview the other day on public radio. They were saying, well, these are just contraceptives, but we know it includes abortifacient drugs like Ella, and certainly contraceptives are worse enough, sterilization's bad enough, but also this does provide for abortions, right?
Right. It's what the administration and the proponents of this mandate have, of course, been saying is this is about women's health. This is about access to health care. This is about contraception. You know, they don't want to acknowledge that some of the prescriptions that would be covered under this plan are indeed abortion-inducing drugs. They're Plan B, they're Ella. Those are things which obviously are completely reprehensible. You know, and I think that what's also missing is that today, when they talk about access to these things, today in Alabama there are 80 government-funded clinics around this state that provide contraceptive services, that provide all of these services with tax dollars to people free of charge or at very low cost. This isn't about access. This is about the government intruding into the affairs of religious organizations and about people of conscience, and forcing us to adapt these things, which are untenable to us as Catholics. So, and I think it's also important for people to understand too. This is not specifically a Catholic issue. It's an issue for people of all faiths, whether you're Catholic, Baptist, evangelical, Jewish, Muslim, whatever faith you practice. What's at stake here is the government intruding into the affairs of all of us as religious believers and imposing its will upon us against our conscience. And that's
something that those out there who would be in support of contraception or even abortion, sterilization, need to understand, is that whether you support it or not, this is a much bigger picture of religious freedom.
Precisely.
Conscience and so forth. And if they're willing to do this and get away with it, it just makes you wonder what's next.
Right. No, exactly. And I think that's why, as I said, enough is enough. And you do have to look down the road and say, well, if this is allowed to stand, then what is next? Are we on the path to a mandate of full abortion services provided in healthcare plans? And again, what next? How much more expansive can this be? So we really felt a moral obligation to stand up, to take a leadership role in this, and really to file this action.
It leads a charge, is what it does.
Exactly.
It lets others know we're willing to do this, and we've got to rally together.
Right.
And a key point too is that we're not just fighting for a church exemption, right? We're fighting for a much broader.
Right. I think I think specifically in our lawsuit, we're arguing about the constitutional issues related to EWTN as a faith-based organization. But this is a much broader issue than that. The healthcare law, in its full extent, requires all employers, for-profit employers, for example, to cover these procedures as well. If you're a Catholic business owner, the government's going to force you to do this as well. And so what's happened here is that the individual's right to religious freedom and religious freedom of expression is really being taken away. And so it's not just an issue for EWTN and other faith-based organizations. It's an issue across the board. And that is something that people need to focus on as well. If you're a Catholic business owner who's serious about your faith, serious about taking care of your employees, this impacts you just as much as it does EWTN.
And pregnancy is not a disease. So often our government treats it as a disease. Well, thank you so much for joining us and breaking that down.
Sure. I'm happy to do so. And I'd really just ask our EWTN family, pray, fast for the success of this. This is a very, very important issue. Continue to support EWTN while we're represented by this and by pro bono legal counsel. I'm certain that we'll come under attack from many, many different groups. And so, we continue to rely on our EWTN family for our support. And if people are interested in doing more, they can go to the EWTN website, and there's a link there that'll take them to an information page. There's a petition there from the Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty, which is representing EWTN in this action, and people can sign that petition to send a message back to the administration that they need to fully repeal this mandate that they've put in place. So.
Okay, well, thank you so much.